won the lottery? I just hit the lottery. Basically, we just won $1 million. At one point, our highest rated show, I think, was 7.7 million.
You wrote in your book, I was a terrible kid, just awful, one of the worst.
Oh, I was.
If you've been scrolling through social media recently, you've likely encountered these sensational claims about Corey Harrison, son of Rick Harrison, from History Channel's hit show, Pawn Stars. These stories paint a dramatic picture. Corey Harrison, known to millions of viewers as Big Hoss, allegedly running an international money laundering operation through the family's Las Vegas pawn shop, being arrested by the FBI, facing a dramatic trial and ultimately collapsing in court upon hearing his guilty verdict. The viral narrative describes in vivid detail how federal agents supposedly raided the gold and silver pawn shop, uncovered evidence linking Corey to criminal organizations across multiple countries, and how the entire Harrison family was left to deal with the fallout of his actions. It's the kind of shocking celebrity downfall story that's almost impossible to scroll past. There's just one major problem with all of it. None of it is true. Today, we're going to separate fact from fiction and explore not just the real story of Corey Harrison, but also examine how these entirely fabricated narratives spread like wildfire across the internet, why people believe them, and how you can protect yourself from falling for similar false stories in the future. We'll look at the specific claims made in this fictional story, contrast them with verifiable facts about Corey's actual life and career, and provide you with tools to better identify misinformation in your own social media feeds. Let's start by addressing the specific claims in this viral story. According to the fictional narrative that's been circulating, Corey Harrison was secretly operating a sophisticated money laundering scheme for years. The fabricated story claims that Corey's pawn shop was receiving valuable items from individuals connected to criminal organizations, and that these transactions were being used to funnel money through foreign bank accounts, masking the illicit origins of the funds. The fictional tale describes how investigators had been monitoring Corey's business for months, tracking suspicious financial transactions and building a case against him. The story graphically depicts an alleged arrest, with FBI agents dramatically entering the pawn shop, handcuffing Corey in front of shocked employees and customers, and leading him away to face interrogation. It details supposed evidence including financial records, wiretaps, and witness testimonies, all supposedly pointing to Corey's involvement in this criminal enterprise. The fictional narrative even goes so far as to describe a tense courtroom scene where a jury delivers a guilty verdict and Corey, overcome with emotion, physically collapses under the weight of his conviction. This storytelling contains all the elements of a compelling drama. A fall from grace, betrayal of family trust, secret criminal connections, and a spectacular public downfall. The narrative even attempts to add credibility by referencing how the scandal affected the production of Pawn Stars and the Harrison family's reputation. But that's exactly what it is: storytelling, creative fiction. Not a single element of the criminal allegations in this viral narrative is based in reality. Corey Harrison has never been arrested for money laundering. He has never been the subject of an FBI investigation for financial crimes. He has never stood trial for any such charges, and he certainly never collapsed in a courtroom upon hearing a verdict. The entire narrative is fabricated from start to finish. This fiction stands in stark contrast to the real-life legal matters that the Harrison family has actually dealt with over the years. Like many business owners, they have faced legitimate legal challenges, including property disputes, business agreements, and other civil matters. Rick Harrison has been open about some of these challenges in interviews and in his autobiography. However, none of the Harrisons, including Corey, have faced serious criminal charges related to their business operations, let alone been convicted of money laundering or connection to international criminal syndicates, as the fictional story suggests. So if this story is completely made up, who is the real Corey Harrison? For fans of Pawn Stars, Corey is a familiar face who has appeared on the show since it debuted on History Channel in 2009. Born in 1983, Corey is the son of Rick Harrison and grandson of the late Richard Old Man Harrison, who founded the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. What many people might not realize is that Corey's involvement in the family business started long before the cameras ever began rolling. He began working at the pawn shop when he was just 9 years old, initially polishing jewelry for about $2 an hour. As a teenager, he moved up to working behind the counter, and by the time Pawn Stars launched, Corey was already handling much of the day-to-day operations of the business. The real Corey Harrison grew up learning the pawn business from the ground up. His father and grandfather taught him how to spot fakes, how to negotiate, and how to run the complex operations of a pawn shop in Las Vegas. By the time he was in his 20s, Corey was managing a significant portion of the shop's operations, overseeing staff, handling inventory, and working with customers. When television producers approached the family about creating a reality show based around their pawn shop, Corey was an integral part of the business and naturally became one of the main characters on the show. Pawn Stars premiered in July 2009 and quickly became one of History Channel's highest-rated shows. The program showcased the daily operations of the pawn shop, focusing on interesting items brought in by customers and the negotiations that followed. Corey's role on the show was multifaceted. He often handled negotiations with customers, researched items, and frequently played the straight man to his friend Austin Chumlee Russell's comedic antics. Over the years, viewers watched as Corey took on more responsibility in the business, occasionally butting heads with his father Rick over management decisions, but ultimately growing into his role as the future leader of the family business. Corey's journey hasn't been without challenges, but none of them involve criminal enterprises or federal investigations. Like many people in the public eye, he's dealt with personal struggles that have played out with varying degrees of publicity. In 2010, Corey made headlines for his decision to undergo gastric bypass surgery, which resulted in him losing nearly 200 pounds. A transformation that was visible to viewers who watched the show over multiple seasons. This significant life change came after health concerns prompted him to take control of his weight. In interviews, Corey has been open about this journey, discussing both the challenges and the positive impact it had on his health and self-confidence. In 2014, Corey experienced a serious motorcycle accident in Las Vegas that resulted in a foot injury requiring surgery. The accident occurred when another driver made an illegal left turn in front of his motorcycle. Corey was fortunate that his injuries weren't more severe, though his recovery did impact his work at the pawn shop temporarily. This real-life incident is a far cry from the fictional legal troubles described in the viral fake story. Corey has also experienced his share of ups and downs in his personal life. He was married to his first wife, Charlene, from 2009 to 2015. Following their divorce, he married his second wife, Karina, in 2017. These relationships and their subsequent changes have been part of Corey's real-life story, occasionally making entertainment news but never involving the kind of dramatic criminal elements described in the fictional narrative. And like countless business owners across America, the Harrison family faced significant challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic, which impacted tourism in Las Vegas and affected foot traffic to their shop. The pawn industry, which relies heavily on in-person transactions, was particularly affected by lockdowns and travel restrictions. The Harrisons had to adapt their business operations to weather this difficult period, just like millions of other legitimate business owners across the country. These real-life events, weight loss struggles, a motorcycle accident, relationship changes, business challenges during a global pandemic, are far removed from the fictional tale of money laundering and criminal enterprises. But they don't generate the same level of engagement as a sensational story about crime, corruption, and courtroom drama. And that brings us to an important question. How and why do completely fabricated stories like this one gain so much traction online? Understanding how misinformation spreads in today's digital ecosystem is crucial to protecting yourself from falling for these kinds of fabricated narratives. These false stories don't spread by accident. They're often carefully crafted to exploit specific psychological triggers and take advantage of how social media platforms operate. First, these fictional narratives typically target celebrities or public figures who already have significant name recognition and established fan bases. The more recognizable the name, the more likely people are to stop scrolling when they see it. The Harrison family, thanks to the enduring popularity of Pawn Stars, certainly fits this criterion. They're familiar faces to millions of viewers worldwide, which creates an immediate interest when their names appear in headlines. When people see a shocking claim about someone they recognize, their curiosity is naturally piqued, leading to more clicks, shares, and engagement. Second, these fabricated stories are usually structured to contain just enough factual elements to seem plausible at first glance. They reference real locations like the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. They mention real relationships like the one between Corey and his father Rick. They might even incorporate actual events from the subject's life, all while weaving in completely fictional, dramatic elements. This mixture of fact and fiction makes the stories more difficult to dismiss outright. When readers encounter familiar, verifiable details mixed with false claims, they're more likely to accept the entire narrative as truthful. Third, these false narratives deliberately exploit emotional triggers. Stories about betrayal, fall from grace, or dramatic personal failures generate strong emotional responses in readers. This emotional engagement makes people more likely to react to, comment on, and share the content without taking the time to verify its accuracy. We're naturally drawn to drama and scandal. It's why celebrity gossip magazines have existed for decades. But the digital age has removed many of the traditional gatekeepers and fact-checkers that once helped filter out the most egregious falsehoods. Our emotional reaction to shocking content often overrides our critical thinking, leading us to engage with and spread misinformation. The story about Corey Harrison specifically plays on several emotional triggers. It creates a sense of betrayal by suggesting that someone viewers invited into their homes through television for years was secretly engaged in criminal activity. It exploits the public's fascination with the fall of successful individuals. The idea that someone who appeared to have it all could lose everything through poor decisions. And it taps into people's interest in behind-the-scenes drama of reality TV shows they enjoy, suggesting that the real story is far more scandalous than what appeared on screen. Most critically, these stories thrive in an online environment where engagement, not accuracy, is the primary driver of visibility and reach. Every share, comment, and reaction, even from people questioning the story's validity, only helps it reach more people. Social media algorithms typically don't distinguish between content that's being shared because it's true and content that's being shared because it's shocking or controversial. In fact, studies have shown that false information tends to spread faster and reach more people than truthful content, precisely because it's often more novel and emotionally engaging. This creates a perfect ecosystem for sensational falsehoods to flourish. The structure of many social media platforms contributes to this problem. Headlines and short excerpts are displayed without context, encouraging users to react before reading the full story. Content is often divorced from its source, making it difficult to evaluate credibility. And the rapid pace of information flow discourages careful verification before sharing. All these factors combine to create an environment where fictional stories about celebrities like Corey Harrison can reach millions of people in a matter of days or even hours. The creators of these fictional narratives understand these dynamics intimately and craft their content specifically to exploit them. They often create websites that mimic legitimate news sources, with vague names that sound trustworthy. They write headlines designed to provoke strong emotional responses and curiosity. And they structure their stories to maximize engagement metrics. Their goal isn't to inform but to capture attention and generate clicks that translate to advertising revenue. In the attention economy of the internet, truth often takes a backseat to engagement metrics. It's worth noting that the pawn industry itself contributes to the plausibility of this particular fake story. Pawn shops deal in high-value items, often conduct cash transactions, and have historically faced stereotypes about their business practices. These factors make stories about illegal activities connected to pawn shops seem more believable to those who aren't familiar with the legitimate regulations and oversight that govern modern pawn operations. The gold and silver pawn shop, like all legitimate pawn businesses, operates under strict regulatory requirements, including detailed record-keeping, cooperation with law enforcement to identify potentially stolen merchandise, and compliance with financial regulations designed to prevent money laundering. So how can you protect yourself from falling for these kinds of fabricated stories? Developing a healthy skepticism towards sensational claims is the first line of defense. When you encounter a dramatic story about a public figure, especially one that involves serious allegations like criminal activity, take a moment to question what you're reading before you accept it as fact. Check the source of the information. Reputable news organizations have editorial standards, fact-checkers, and journalistic codes of ethics. If a dramatic story about a well-known figure isn't being reported by established news outlets, that should immediately raise red flags. In the case of the false Corey Harrison story, you won't find coverage from legitimate news sources like the Associated Press, Reuters, major newspapers, or reputable television news programs because there's no truth to the allegations. Pay close attention to the website publishing the story. Does it have an About page with information about its staff and editorial standards? Does it publish a diverse range of news or only sensational celebrity stories? Is the website designed to look like a news outlet but missing the hallmarks of professional journalism? These can all be indicators of an unreliable source. Real news stories about legal proceedings, arrests, or court cases will include specific details. The jurisdiction of the court, the names of prosecutors or judges, the specific charges filed, and official case numbers. The absence of these details in a story making serious criminal allegations is a significant warning sign. Legitimate reporting on criminal matters typically includes statements from law enforcement officials, court documents, or other verifiable sources. The fictional story about Corey Harrison lacks these specific, checkable details because they don't exist. Be particularly wary of stories that rely heavily on anonymous sources or vague attributions like insiders say or sources close to the family. While legitimate journalism sometimes uses anonymous sources to protect individuals who may face repercussions for speaking out, credible reporting will still include specific details that can be independently verified. Anonymous sources should be the exception, not the rule, especially for major allegations like criminal activity. The real story of the Harrison family and their pawn shop business is remarkable enough without fictional embellishments. From humble beginnings, they built a successful pawn business in Las Vegas that eventually became the setting for one of the most popular reality television shows in history. Richard "Old Man" Harrison founded the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in 1989 after moving to Las Vegas following a career in the U.S. Navy. His son Rick joined the business, and together they built it into a successful operation well before television fame ever entered the picture. The path to television success wasn't immediate or straightforward. Rick Harrison spent years pitching the concept of a reality show set in his pawn shop before the History Channel finally picked up the idea. Pawn Stars debuted in July 2009 and quickly exceeded everyone's expectations, becoming one of the network's highest-rated shows and transforming the Harrison family into household names. The show's success came from its unique blend of history, negotiation, family dynamics, and the fascinating array of items that passed through the shop. Over the years, Pawn Stars has aired for more than 20 seasons and hundreds of episodes, educating viewers about history, collectibles, and the art of negotiation, while showcasing the unique family dynamic between Rick, his father, the Old Man, who sadly passed away in 2018, Corey, and their friend Austin Chumley Russell. The show has featured thousands of interesting historical items, from Civil War artifacts to movie memorabilia, vintage cars to ancient coins. Experts in various fields regularly appear on the show to provide authentication and historical context, adding an educational element that helped distinguish Pawn Stars from other reality programming. Because in the end, the real story of Corey Harrison and the Harrison family, building a successful business, adapting to unexpected fame, overcoming personal challenges, and continuing to evolve and grow, is far more inspiring than any fabricated tale of criminality and downfall. Their genuine journey from a small pawn shop to a worldwide recognized brand represents the kind of American success story that deserves to be celebrated, not undermined by false narratives designed solely to generate clicks and engagement. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and share with anyone who might have encountered this false story about Corey Harrison. Remember that in our digital world, each of us has a responsibility to think critically about the information we consume and share. By being more thoughtful about what we believe and pass along to others, we can all contribute to a healthier, more truthful information environment. And remember to always verify before you trust, especially on the internet, where not everything that glitters is gold.